All right. Talking about the bucket system, I'm going to try to go through this pretty quick. I'm going to hide some of this irrelevant information that we don't need to see right now. And if you want to follow along with me on the cheat sheet, you certainly can. Remember, the cheat sheet is found in the description below. Click that link. It'll get you to the cheat sheet, where you can also go through the buckets like I do. Now, I'm just going to go bucket by bucket. We're going to go over the projections of what I think are going to produce top 10 finishers. So when we look at last year bucket 1, and we're looking at this column here, just remember the rules here. Minimum projection, we always round down. So 0.94 will be rounded down to 0. Maximum projection goes from 1.56. We round up to the nearest number, the nearest whole number, that's 2. So this projection is 0 to 2. That is what I think. That's how many golfers I think will come out of this bucket to finish inside the top 10. So if you want to check that out on the cheat sheet, all you do is you go to the dream sheet portion, go ahead, put the DraftKings filter on there, and what you would want to do is clear out this last year bucket, I should say. Clear that out and just select 1. And this is where you find the golfers that are in that bucket. So I was kind of talking about this with the review. It's like, this is what I love about the bucket system. So the projection is 0 to 2, much like it was last week at the Rock Emerge Classic. So find 2 golfers you like, cut the rest out of your player pool. Do not let your optimizer select those guys, especially if you feel really confident in those golfers. Now with my optimizer, you can use exposure levels. So it can mix and match 1 or 2 or even 0. Maybe it won't even pick one. It might not even pick one golfer. But let's say you like Denny McCarthy. I mean, I think that's a solid play. He's been trending up extremely well, by the way. Is he the only golfer that has the best he's in the... No, he's not. Okay, we'll talk about that when we get there. Either way, it's a pretty good price tag. Emiliano Grillo, by the way, or Grillo, sorry, Emiliano Grillo, he's number 1 in my model, and he's $9,200. So maybe starting here is the way to go. And if we like one of these 7K golfers, or even like another 9K golfer in JT Poston, who is your defending champion, by the way, we could certainly do that. I have to double check something. I see JT Poston's course history is 60th. That can't be right. Can't be right. Don't mind the clutter on the page here. There we go. JT Poston. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, that is correct. A miscut, 65th, 64th, and then a win. So course history might not be super important to look at. We'll see. We'll get there when we get to the buckets. So 0 to 2 is our projection for last year ones. I'm not going to talk about all the other buckets here that are 0 to 2. By the way, your last year 2 buckets 0 to 2, last year 3 0 to 2, last year 4 0 to 2. You might come to this last year 5 bucket and think to yourself, well, this, if we round down from 1.11, that makes 1. So this projection is really 1 to 2. Remember, there has to be a 2-point gap, or buffer, if you want to call it that, between the min and the max. And we always try to go down before we go up. So because we can, since this rounds up to 2, this then becomes 0. The minimum becomes 0. There's also another way to look at this. So you see this projection down here. This would be 0. This would be 1. Now, I'm letting you know there's only 1 golfer in that bucket, so we can just keep it 0 to 1. But let's say there was 2 or more golfers in there. You would change this from 0 to 1 to 0 to 2. That's the only way we bump the maximum up, is if there's nowhere else to go down from 0, then we have to boost up the maximum to 2. So anyways, I just want to mention that with all these buckets. So 1 to 2 really is 0 to 2. And I'm not going to talk about this bucket either. But this one right here, 2 to 5. Last year 6s. So now golfing at the John Deere Classic last year doesn't hurt you. Now, if you're asking me, well, does that include rookies that have never played this course before? It does. But what you'd want to do if you wanted to pair those up is come down to the course history 6 bucket and see what the projection is there. And you can see it says 0 to 2. So at most, for rookies in your lineup, you'd only want 2. Or even veterans that just never played this event, a maximum of 2. So either way, we can look at it this way. They're rookies either on tour or rookies at this golf course if they don't have course history. So that's how I would pair those two things up. Again, that's golfers that have never played this golf course ever. They can be rookies. They can also be veterans that just never choose to play at the John Deere Classic. So keep all of that in mind. So 2 to 5. Now there are 70 golfers in that bucket, which makes it very difficult to choose how many golfers you should actually pick from. But 2 to 5 is a pretty generous projection. You can also look here. We have seen at least 3 from this bucket inside the top 10 every single year. And it has 100% frequency rate, obviously. Now, also, by the way, we have seen 3 golfers in the optimal lineup from this bucket every single year we've had price tags or prices, salaries. Sorry. So that's something else to keep in mind. So if we take a look at that bucket and we go and look at last year's 6s, Russell Henley's there, Ludwig Aberg's there, Cameron Young is there, Eric Cole. You know, these are some interesting names. Like Aberg, by the way, one of the more interesting golfers to choose from. If you're wondering if bombers have an advantage here, we can look at last year's results. If I scroll all the way over to driving distance, which is kind of a cheap way. Chris Gotterup, you're not going to see driving distance. He was kind of a rookie or had a sponsor's exemption here. Guy murders the golf ball, hits it very far. So, and Bryson won this tournament before he hulked up. Callum Tarran, 310 off the tee. Emiliano Grillo, I mean, I can't believe we're saying 304 off the tee. That's pretty good. So they're not really mashers. I mean, there's Cam Davis, who, 305 off the tee. So 305, 310. I'd say Goddard was probably in at 320, my guess. You mix those in with guys who, bunted off the tee box. 296 in JT Poston, 286 with Christian Bezuidenhout, 290 with Denny McCarthy. So obviously we see him this year. So keep all those things in mind when it comes to building your lineups. If you want to play someone like Ludwig Aberg, I've updated his stats. You're not going to see this on the PGA Tour, but what I did is I took a look at the last 3 weeks, averaged out his driving distances, averaged out his birdie or better distances, or birdie or better. Oh, you can't see it on here. My apologies. I do have it in my... I apologize. I have this in my input sheet that I copy over here. This number was like 320. It's like 321. Bogey avoidance was 12.94, and or let me do it a different way. Point 1294, and then birdie or better was like 0.25. So like he has a really good birdie or better percentage. His bogey avoidance is pretty low in comparison to some of these other guys, and driving distance, he mashes it currently further than Cam Young. Now Cam Young has more events under his belt. Some of these distances are taken, or the distances that go into the average we're taking at less than driver golf courses, which is a bit unfair, but that is used. So if you wanted to play someone like Ludwig Aberg, I don't see why you shouldn't. If you want to load up on him, I think you do so. Same goes with Cam Young, but Cam Young has just been playing god-awful golf for a while. So, be wary of that. And then we kind of have a lot of interesting names under those golfers. Eric Cole, Keith Mitchell, Chris Kirk, Seamus Power, Benny Ann, Sepp Straka. Now, I'm not saying you should just select bombers from this group, but I'm just trying to make the argument for Ludwig Aberg. The guy is amazing. And by the way, here's a hot take. I think this golfer, his golf swing, you remember when Matt Wolff, Colin Morikawa, and Victor Hovland came onto the scene and, for good reason was given all the attention? I think this guy, currently right now, how I see his swing is more special than those golfers. Now, there's a lot to be proven with his short game, but that golf swing, how far he hits the ball, his approach into the greens, the guy's talented. And you're going to give me a 6'3" frame that he can grow into? Like, they were kind of joking about this on the broadcast last week. This is what your prototypical golfer is going to look like in the future. I agree. And I think he's the future. So that might be me putting too much stock into him, but holy crap, dude. I'm such a Ludwig Aberg fan. That golf swing is so silky smooth. And I kind of joked about this on the Fantasy Golf Pod last week. I was in the chat just going like, Ludwig Aberg has a top 5 swing on tour. And then you get Josh Bennett going, well, everyone on tour has a top 5 swing. I'm saying on tour, not in life. Not all golfers everywhere, because duh, like that's stupid. On tour, on the PGA Tour, Ludwig Aberg has a top 5 swing, in my opinion. So that's all the gas that I'm going to give Ludwig Aberg. If you guys want to play him, if you're doing one bullet, maybe don't play Ludwig. But if you're playing him, you know, if you're doing like 20 or more lineups, man, I'm peppering him. I want him in 30% of my lineups. That's how I'm going to do it. He is 32nd in the model, but here's one thing to mention. I'll also mention this tomorrow. He hasn't had enough events on the professional circuit to get strength of field, like OWGR points. So if we take a look at the OWGR points right here, he has 0. Now, one golfer that I'm like, well, who's in the top 50? So I was looking and I saw, well, you're not going to see Matt Kuchar. And oh yeah, we will see Matt Kuchar. There we go. Matt Kuchar right here. Weird. We don't have course history with Kuchar. That seems odd. Let me double check. I don't have any stats with Kuchar at this event. From 2013 till now, yeah, nothing with Kuchar. Interesting. Okay, so that's perfect. That was my example. So if you see Matt Kuchar, he is 57th in the OWGR. 57th, Matt Kuchar. If we go to how many points are given to him for his OWGR, 81 points. So I think we could probably add at least 80 points to Ludwig Aberg's score. And if you look at it, he would go from 756 to like 8. That number was higher. Is it because I have filters on this? Here, let me just double check. I swear his point total was higher. I might have to, yeah, okay. Driving distance wasn't updated. Bogey or better or birdie or better and bogey avoidance were not added. Okay, my bad. Oh boy. So with the input sheet that I have to paste over all these things because I just updated before here and thought I was in the clear. Obviously I wasn't. This score was 880. Or no, it was 860. So 860 is what his score ended up being. And if you add 80 points, that makes it to 940. Well, if I look at like Adam Schenk, 933, he's 12th in my model. So really Ludwig Aberg would be probably, well, 11th in my model is 937. So he's going to be a top 10 golfer in my model. Here's number 10, 937 as well. Okay, so yeah, 7th is what? Taylor Montgomery, he's 965. Okay, so he's a little less than that. So yeah, Aberg is going to be 8th or 9th in my model. If you incorporate where we would imagine him to be in OWGR, like where he should actually be. Do we think he's better than Matt Kuchar? I would say so. At this current moment, I would say he's better than Matt Kuchar. Obviously, DraftKings thinks he's better than Matt Kuchar. So that's my my little fanboy for Ludwig Aberg. I'm not going to talk more about it, but I think if you think that price tag is outrageous, I would probably, I don't know. He's within, I think, $500 of where he should be. So if you want to say he should be $9,600, I'm cool with that. But his potential, I think, yeah, he's a 9K golfer for sure. I don't mind him being in the 10K range. And if all of you guys don't want to play him because of that, then that's wonderful. I'm still going to keep my exposure set at 30%, and hopefully my 30% trounces yours. So anyways, again, that is my fanboy for Ludwig Aberg. Now, again, the projection for this bucket, I did remember, by the way, is 2 to 5. So you want to select 2 to 5 golfers from here. Be careful, because these 3 golfers could finish inside the top 10. Take care of the projection that I had, meaning all the other golfers down here would be deemed unplayable because they wouldn't be inside the top 10, especially if it's these guys here that do take the top 10 projections if they succeed them. So you got to really ask yourself, do you see that happening? And if not, then obviously these guys are in play, and that's why that's how you would choose them. So I spent way too much time on Ludwig Aberg. Let's move on to the next couple buckets. Again, follow along with me on the cheat sheet. That's the one way to really figure out what these buckets mean, how many golfers to select from each of these buckets. So when it comes to last week ones, you want 0 to 2. Just throwing that out there. Last week twos, you want 0 to 2 as well. 0 to 2 last week threes, 0 to 2 last week fours, 1 to 3 last week fives, and I'd say this is probably 1 to 4 because I like to use the conservative projection over here. I round this up to 3, which means the minimum then would be 1. So I'm going to use the conservative minimum of 1, but I'll use the kind of risky max projection over here for 4. So this would be 1 to 4. We can take a look at last week 6s. As you can tell, or last week 5s and last week 6s, we want at least one of those. So last week 5s, by the way, are missed cuts from last week. So top of the salary leaderboard is Byung-Hun An, Mark Hubbard, and then, I mean, it's Byung-Hun An at $8,700, and then a slew of golfers, 6K and 7K, including Akshay Bhatia, who I was kind of complaining about during the review of the Rocket March Classic, because I kind of went overweight on him. It's worth noting, you can't see in the golfer information here, Nick Hardy went to the University of Illinois. That's not too far away from this golf course, and I imagine he probably played it a bunch of times. This would be a guy that I would say I would consider, even with the miscut. And obviously, there's a lot of other golfers that you can consider this week. It's just really difficult to determine that based off of what we see in front of us. It's just a lot of value plays is what it looks like. So not a bucket that's really easy to select from. Again, I shouldn't say again, but we have 62 golfers in that bucket. That's a challenge. The other bucket, though, has just under 40, and we want 1 to 4 last week 6s. These are golfers who did not play last week, which includes your past champion and JT Poston. We also have Taylor Montgomery. Now, Patrick Rogers withdrew from the Rocket March Classic, so I don't even know if he's available. I don't know if he's going to withdraw from the John Deere Classic, but be careful with that. Also, careful with Scott Piercy, because he also withdrew last week. So, yeah, I don't really know. I kind of read up on it, didn't really give us a reason. So keep your eyes peeled for that. I imagine, well, I was going to say, I imagine that this will bring the projection down, but it's not going to bring it down that much. I think it's worth noting that this bucket, it uses strength of field points, which looks like there are 90 points that go towards it. 50% of your strength of field points come from this bucket. And that does go into the projections. So be careful with that. Kind of interesting. Oh, I'm so sorry. There's so many golfers to look at. I didn't even see that it wasn't scrolled all the way down. So it doesn't just start with JT Poston. We got Denny McCarthy, Russell Henley, Cam Young, Eric Cole, Keith Mitch. Yeah, so this is a good bucket to select golfers from. A lot of points come from this one. Way more than I originally thought. So either way, this is kind of a difficult bucket. 1 to 4. Once again, be careful because 3 of the top guys could finish inside the top 10. And you could probably only play 2 of them at most. There's no way you're going to build a good lineup with 3 of them. So if you do like 2 of them, I think that's fine. If you do like 2 and you can fit a 3rd or even a 4th one, then by all means do so. But I imagine if you do select those 2, you probably can't play the other guys because they're going to be somewhere in the 9, 8, or 7K range. And if they're kind of in the higher 7K range, you can put all 3 of them together. So be careful with that. I don't even know if that's the right way to go about it, but it doesn't seem smart to do that. So that covers your last week buckets. Course history buckets, we can kind of cruise through this as well. 0 to 2 course history 1, 0 to 2 course history 2, 0 to 2 to course history 4, 0 to 2 course history 5, and then 1 to 2, but obviously that's 0 to 2 course history 6s. The only one that is a little different would be this 1 to 4 course history 3. So this is kind of your in the middle of course history. This could be anything from, you know, golfers who have just a flat 20 to 40th, or I'm sorry, 40th to 60th place course history, because that's what the course history 3 bucket is that 40 to 60 range. You could just have all finishes like that, or it could be top 20s mixed in with some missed cuts. That also can be in this course history. So from this bucket, again, we want 1 to 4 golfers in our lineup, or at least we're projecting 1 to 4 to be inside the top 10. And it drops off pretty fast. Goes Denny in the 10K range. We have 4 9K golfers: Keith Mitchell, Adam Schenk, Chris Kirk, JT Poston. 1 8K golfer in Sepp Straka, and then it drops down in the 7s and the 6s. So really that could tell us one of two things. One, maybe you want 2 guys here in the 9K and above range, or possibly you want, you know, 4 golfers that include 2 7Ks or a mix of a 7 and a 6K golfer, to go along with maybe a 9K golfer and another, or a 10K golfer. So this one would be more challenging to select a golfer from, but it's definitely a bucket that you want to pay attention to. Moving on from there. So that kind of covers the course history buckets. I don't want to, like I said, I don't want to go into every bucket in detail. You have the cheat sheet available to you down below. I'm giving you the tools on how to project each of these buckets based off of what you see on the bucket system page. That way you can make kind of a better informed decision when it comes to building your lineups. Now, when it comes to the recent form buckets, we have 0 to 2 for recent form 1, but really there's only 1 golfer in it, so it's, you know, the projection is actually 0 to 1. We have 1 to 3 recent form 2s, 1 to 4 recent form 3s, 2 to 4 recent form 4s, and then 0 to 2 for the remaining buckets down here, recent form 4 and 5. This one might take a little bit more attention to, only because if you look at this recent form 1 bucket, I look at the success rate, which is how many golfers from the recent form bucket over the last 10 years have finished inside the top 10. The answer to that is 35% of them. That's a really high success rate, So if we take a look at this golfer who has a recent form bucket 1, who is it? Kind of cheating. I'm trying to look at it first. Doug Ghim. Do we think Doug Ghim has a 30% chance to finish inside the top 10? It's possible. I don't think... I don't know how I don't think I really care that much about Doug Ghim. I think I'm missing some grass stats with him, if I'm being honest. Oh, no. I'm so sorry. This we just hide. This should just say bent. One small little thing I did not notice. Okay. So, I don't think Doug Ghim is like worth 30% exposure in my lineups. If this was like kind of a I guess Doug Ghim could be looked at as a potential like a potential top 10 golfer here in the near future, but I don't think so. He finished 20th place last week, and that's the only event that he's played in the last 7 weeks. If I'm correct here, let's see. Doug Ghim. Never mind. I stand corrected. A 12th place finish in Canada, 15th place finish at the Travelers, and a 33rd place finish at Rocket Mortgage. So he's trending up. Doesn't have the greatest course history, but yeah, I don't know, man. 33% is kind of crazy. Going to one of the buckets that had a lot of or a high projection. So recent form 3, we want 1 to 4. That is the projection for this bucket. Starts with Keith Mitchell, goes to Adam Schenk. So we have a few 9K golfers up here, 4 of them to be exact. And then 4 8K golfers. Patrick Rogers, Christian Bezuidenhout, Byung-Hun An, and Steven Yeager. So that's all interesting. I kind of like the 7K range too. Some of the golfers that are in the 7K range. So 1 to 4, maybe it's a good, this is actually a good bucket to select like maybe 3 or even 4 golfers from, just because of the tiering that we kind of see, like the price tiering. Like I wouldn't mind playing Grillo, sorry. Kirk. I got no issue playing Kirk or Schenk or even Keith Mitchell. I've got no issue playing any 4 of those guys. In the 8K range, I probably have a little bit more reservations because I like Yeager. I don't really care too much for Benny Ann. I also don't really care too much for Christian Bezuidenhout. And I also really don't care that much about Patrick Rogers. 7K range, I like some of these guys to round out my lineups in or with. So, yeah, I mean, 1 to 4 is the projection here. Going to the next one, recent form 4s. That's also, well, this is a 2 to 4 projection. Actually, yes, this is 2 to 4 for the projection. When it comes to the recent form bucket, recent form 4 bucket, sorry. And this one starts with Cam Young, Taylor Moore, Seamus Power, JT Poston. So those are some good names to build your lineups around. 8K range, Taylor Montgomery, Nick Taylor, Matt Kuchar. That's so-so. But 2 to 4 is the projection of this bucket. So that's super interesting. I can't really see a golfer that is gaining or like garnering my attention right now. I don't mind going back to someone like JT Poston, by the way, but I almost feel like Taylor Moore might be a good play. Maybe even Cam Young. I don't know. It's, wow, very unique. Skipping past the recent form buckets, we can get right into the salaries. Like I said, I don't want to spend too much time on each of these buckets. So when it comes to salaries, looks like we want somewhere between 0 to 2 10K golfers, which I find very interesting because this isn't a jam-packed 10K leaderboard, if you want to call it that. You have Russell or Denny McCarthy, your top price guy. Russell Henley, $200 cheaper. Ludwig Aberg, 10-1, and then Cam Young, 10,000. That's a very soft 10K range. You know, we don't have like 10-9 or 11K and above. 10-6 is very manageable if you wanted to build lineups with any of these 10K golfers, especially Denny McCarthy. So 0 to 2. Now, we've never seen more than 1 in an optimal lineup, but I believe we, during the past optimal and GPP winning lineups, we saw 2 inside or in the a GPP winning lineup. So it is possible to have 2 10K guys. I think I'd probably just stick to 1. I don't know if I want to pair up 2. So probably do that. An interesting range is this 9K range. So this 9K range has had a 27% success rate dating back to 2017. So that mixed in with the strength of field points that go towards it, 1 to 3 is the projection for 9K golfers. Meaning you want at least 1 9K golfer. We have 9 of them to choose from. And some very solid names. I don't mind going back to Adam Hadwin. He's number 2 in my model. That seems pretty good. Grillo. Gosh, I gotta remember saying that. Grillo is number 1 in my model. Taylor Moore is number 6. Keith Mitchell's number 8. All these guys are reasonably priced. Maybe JT Poston's the only one that might not be a good price just based off of his sweet spot rank, but he is the defending champion. So that might give him good vibes. Who knows? Those do play into each golf course. So 1 to 3, I think is very easy to get to with the 9K range. And I have no issue, you know, building, like using the optimizer and having it select at least one 9K golfer every single time. Moving on to the 8K range. Technically, this is 1 to 2, but obviously we want a 2-point buffer, so it moves to 0 to 2. So that's also interesting. Because if we wanted to use the true projection of 1 to 2, you know, we were just talking about Doug Gim. Maybe this is a Doug Gim. You know, like, I guess if I look at this range, Taylor Montgomery stands out, but I have such a strong detachment from Taylor Montgomery. I just don't think he can put 4 rounds together. And I rather waste my money on other golfers. Like, I really like Steven Yeager this week. I have no issue playing like Alex Smalley. I also don't mind going to Benny Ann or Sepp Straka. But now I'm kind of getting more sold on Doug Gim. I kind of want to play Doug Gim a little bit here. So find that to be interesting. Or this 8K range to be interesting. I'm not one that really likes to pepper the 8K range. But at a field like this, I don't mind some of these price tags. Now, the other salaries, I'm not really going to look at every golf. Like, I'm not going to look at the golfers in those ranges, but you want 1 to 3 7K golfers, and then basically 0 to 2 6K golfers. Now, you could play up to 3, because I am projecting 0 to 2 from this higher 6K range, and technically is also 0 to 2 from the low 6K. But you never really want to play more than 1 from that range, and you never really want to play more than 2 from this higher 6K range. And altogether, I kind of like to put a rule in that you don't want to play more than 2 6K golfers, period. So I would keep that in mind. And then when it comes to the strokes gain buckets, if you're unfamiliar with this, I would highly, highly encourage you guys to go check out the bucket system video that I have linked in the description down below. I explain what these buckets are. If you just want to follow along on the cheat sheet, I highly encourage you guys, go to the strokes gain bucket. Make sure you have the filter on and sort A to Z. You can see that this is color coordinated based off of the buckets. So all these golfers' names are color coordinated based off of the buckets that they're in. So when I go strokes gain 1, you can see this is that dark green color. These are all your strokes gain 1 golfers right here. When it comes to the projections here, we want 0 to 2 strokes gain 1. It's pretty solid. 0 to 2 to strokes gain 2. 1 to 4 strokes gain 3. 1 to 3 strokes gain 4. 0 to 2 strokes gain 5. And 0 to 2 strokes gain 6. But really keep strokes gain 6 to 1. If or less, I would say. So when we're looking at 2023, or I'm sorry, we're looking at this week. 0 to 2 strokes gain 1. Well, that's kind of easy because it goes Chris Kirk, Nick Taylor, and it drops to the 7K range and into the 6K range. There's no golfer here that I'm like, you have to play. So 0 to 2 is a great projection. The next one, technically the projection was 1 to 2, but obviously 0 to 2 is what it ends up becoming because we want a 2-point buffer, and we always go down with the minimum first. Before we raise the maximum. So 0 to 2 here as well. And this has Ludwig Aberg in it, Keith Mitchell, Adam Schenk, Taylor Moore. I think 0 to 2 is an interesting projection only because I like more than 2 guys, and I could see more than 2 guys from this bucket finishing inside the top 10. Now, sometimes the bucket projections, you know, are incorrect. I will still stick to those projections, meaning I won't play more than 2 golfers from this range. I think I can easily like cross off Trevor Cohn, Matty Schmid, Kevin Tway. Those 3 guys I can just kind of cross off. I will play at least one of them. Let's just one. Each one of them will be in one lineup by themselves. Obviously, I'll own them or I'll roster them less than 1% of my total lineups. You know, Carson Young, S.H. Kim. I probably am going to stay away from Peter Quest, although his performance last week was kind of encouraging. I don't like to play Bo Hosler. I'll probably skip him. Rogers, we'll see what his injury status is. Montgomery, I don't think he really has a very good swing. I don't think he can also put 4 rounds together. So it kind of leaves me like these guys or these two. Or not even or these two. Could it be one of the guys from the top and one of the guys from the bottom? But yeah, I don't know. I don't mind going to more. I don't mind going to any of these guys, by the way. Any one of these guys, I think, is a fair play. Absolutely fair play. The rest of these guys are very questionable to me. Very questionable. The next bucket had the most for your projections. 1 to 4, by the way. 1 to 4. Starts with Russell Henley and then has Cam Young. No 9K golfers. Drops down to the 8K range. We have 4 of them, including Doug Gim, who we were just talking about. Then we drop to the 7K range, and we got a bunch of those golfers in this field. So 7K and up, by the way, we have 22 golfers total. 6K and down, we have 22 total. So half of your golfers are in the 6K range. So that projection 1 to 4, it might be smart to maybe find at most 3 from the 7K and above range. At most 3. I think maybe 1 or 2 golfers from here, and then maybe you mix and match those with some of these 6K golfers. Which also means it's going to limit your player pool. Because if there's 44 total golfers here and you only want to play up to 4 maximum, that means you're cutting out, 40 golfers from your player pool. If you're just building one lineup and you're choosing like a core, I mean, some names that I think are interesting is like Nick Hardy. Don't mind playing someone like him. I'm kind of warming on someone like Ryan Palmer, but I kind of want to stay away from him. Like Steven Yeager, I like Russell Henley and Doug Gim. Those 4 golfers right now have most of my attention. I also don't mind someone like Kevin Streelman. Give me a savvy veteran. Like at a course like this, I think something a golfer like him plays well at a course like this. And then the rest of them, I don't even know what to do with. So yeah, 1 to 4 there. Your strokes gained 4 had 1 to 3. Just to show you that again. Strokes gained 4 is 1 to 3. And this starts with Denny McCarthy. So you got to make a decision what you want to do in the 10K range. Because we could use like Russell Henley from the previous bucket we just looked at. We could also use Ludwig Aberg from bucket 2. But then Denny McCarthy is the only other 10K golfer. So we have 1 10K in strokes gained 2, 2 10Ks in strokes gained 3, and 1 10K here in strokes gained 4. And you could probably mix and match, or you could probably play 2 of those guys together if you truly wanted to. So it's up to you. Like Denny McCarthy seems great, but I like Adam Hadwin a little bit more. And I don't mind going to someone like Eric Cole or even like Seamus Power. I don't mind going back to someone like Seamus Power this week. Matt Kuchar and Bezuidenhout are here. I don't really know if I care too much about those guys. The 7K range also kind of seems lackluster, if I'm being honest. Hard to... Like Mark Hubbard and Brennan Todd would be my 2 favorites. I think that's pretty easy to select those guys. So I don't know what to do there. Again, this projection's 1 to 3. So you really have to map out who you think are going to finish inside the top 10. There's a lot of 6K golfers in this bucket. I don't know. I think Denny McCarthy and Adam Hadwin, in my opinion, hold the most, obviously because of their price tag, but just when it comes to this bucket, if you wanted to bet these 2 versus the rest of them, I think I would choose McCarthy and Hadwin over the rest of this group, basically all day long. So it's hard for me to give like the stamp of approval for any of these other guys because again, the projection's 1 to 3. And to me, it's like one of these 2 guys, and that's it. I don't even know if I would want to play more than that. I'll mix in some of these 6K golfers, but oh man, it's not good. Strokes gained 5. 0 to 2 as well. Ches Reeves at the top of that list. It drops into the 6K range pretty fast. So 0 to 2, I think, is a fair projection. I don't really think there's any notable names that we'd really have to talk about. Ches Reeves and Patton Kizzire, maybe. That's it. So we can skip on. And then I have 3 6K golfers down here in the strokes gained 6 bucket. I don't even recognize any of their names. So that is the conclusion of the bucket system. If you have any questions, let me know. Just leave them in the chat or email me at sweetspotdfs@gmail.com. It's pretty straightforward when it comes to the projections. Just remember, when it comes to the minimums, you always round down to the nearest whole number, and then the maximums you always round up. And if the maximum isn't over 2, then the minimum always has to be 0. And if the maximum is under 1, you always bump it up to 2. Always. So that, yeah, I think that's all that covers that. Just some reminders. Let me go ahead and pull this up. I'll do a couple like giveaway reminders. So we just ran the monthly and weekly giveaway earlier in the video. So if you want to go check to see if your name was called, go check it out. But a reminder, if you're subscribed, any amount of participation on any of these videos, so commenting on them, will give you a free entry into both the monthly giveaway as well as the weekly giveaway. And every Monday during this preview video, I do a weekly giveaway and I give away $5. All those entries go into the monthly giveaway also, where I will run that the first Monday of the next month. So I like to reward those that participate on the channel. So if you want to get involved, be subscribed and comment down below. If you need a topic, give me your 2 favorite golfers you want to play this week. I think that's pretty simple, pretty easy. And then also Prize Picks. There's a link in the description. If you click that link, it'll bring you to the homepage for Prize Picks. Just go hit sign up. The Sweet Spot promo code will already be put in there. Fill out your information, put $20 in your account, and I will give you $20 back. Plus, Prize Picks will match up to $100, meaning they will double whatever your investment is. Your first initial deposit, by the way. So if you want to play us for free, just put $20 in, because you're going to get 20 back from me, and Prize Picks will give you an additional 20, so you actually get $40 total. If you want to maximize the amount of money you can get back from Prize Picks, put $100 in your account, or somewhere in between, whatever you'd like. Again, link in the description. Again, you could follow along with me throughout this video using the cheat sheet. I will have an optimizer ready tomorrow. But one big reminder. I usually do live videos Tuesday nights. Obviously, this Tuesday night is July 4th. I am not available after 4 p.m. So if you'd like a live video, a live strategy video, the options are this. We can either go between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that's not me saying start at 11 a.m. It's like I will start at any time between 11 and 2. Because again, I got to be done by 4. So if we start at 2, I will run until 4 and then I'm done. So we can do a live video tomorrow, July 4th. And that can be, again, between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. If not, if you would much rather to be on Wednesday, Wednesday will be at 8 p.m. at the earliest. I will run it out till maybe 9 p.m. Like that would be my start time. If I can't start between 8 to 9 p.m., then I will just cancel the live show completely. But this is for your voting. Maybe I'll put a poll on the channel. I'm not sure. But you could also just reply down in the comment section, letting me know what works best for you. Would you rather this be on July 4th between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time? That'd be my starting time, by the way. Once again, starting time, somewhere between 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. with a hard stop at 4 p.m. Or Wednesday night, starting at 8 p.m. at the earliest. And again, probably running 2 hours. So let me know what works best for you. I'll be paying attention. I'll make my decision before 11 a.m. tomorrow, or 11 a.m. on July 4th. I will make up my mind. You might not get much of a warning when I'm going to go live. So check your YouTube between 11 or even Twitter. I'll post it there between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Central Standard Time. You will know if I'm doing it tomorrow, July 4th, or Wednesday, July 5th. That's all that I have for you guys. So for all you sticking around all the way to here, thank you for watching. Please leave a like, comment, subscribe on your way out, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye.